Okay, okay. बड़ा क्यों है? आरती,
जी सर।
अमित जी,
जी सर।
ये मेरे पास स्क्रीन नहीं आ रही। अमित गुप्ता, आप कुछ कर रहे हो गुप्ता जी? हाँ, ठीक है।
कुछ नहीं कर रहा हूँ सर, आई एम ऑनलाइन ओनली।
So we'll start now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to yet another live webinar on COVID-19 and its impact on internal audit. You are aware that your committee has been doing so many programs in the past. One of the most robust committees of ICAI, rather it's a board now, and more importantly, only Internal Audit Standard Board is conducting virtual concurrent audit courses all across the country. You can now do a concurrent audit course at just 5,000 rupees sitting at your house and appear for exams after the opening of the lockdown. So we are towards setting up an era where technical knowledge and impetus to perform can be honed up. Today's topic is a very much contemporary topic, and I have two very revered speakers on this. I have Mr. Amit Gupta from Ahmedabad, who's a very senior chartered accountant, and his entire life has been into internal audit, a man who loves and has been part of the committee for so many years, and more importantly is always addressing to ensure that membership gets the best of its benefits in times to come. I also have Mr. Rajiv Gupta from Bangalore. Mr. Gupta is also a senior and senior chartered accountant and works largely on forensic and technology part, but embedded totally with internal audit and contributes a lot for the cause of the profession. So before I ask both the speakers to speak, I'll take 10 to 20 minutes to first discuss the significant issues, a small PPT from my end, and largely how we have to tackle and how we have to ensure that internal audit becomes a value add in these type of circumstances. All of you are well aware that chartered accountants only do a training of 3 months, 3 years, and after that they learn throughout their life. And today is again a learning phase where you use your impetus, your thought process, your experience to give solutions to corporates who are looking towards us for a better solution. And I'm reminded of a couplet before I start. The couplet says, a chartered accountant telling another professional, he says, कुछ तो फर्क है तेरी और मेरी तालीम में, तूने उस्तादों से सीखा है, हमने हालातों से सीखा है. आज हालात ऐसे बन गए, the entire country now is in turmoil, but we chartered accountants, our great institute which was set up by an act of parliament way back on 1st July 1949, when the most important document to the democracy, the constitution, was not adopted. We are a class apart and we know how to bring this country out of it and give the corporates and our stakeholders the right thought process so that they can perform and yet add to the growth and economy of this great nation. There are two very significant issues if I take the first lot. First is impairment results from financial losses, breach in bank covenants. So impairment is a very serious issue. Second, whether accounts of a company need to be prepared on a going concern basis and nature of the deterioration in operative results and financial position. If we move ahead, we have to again ponder on two more issues. First, the auditors will be required to make a call as to whether the losses or drop in profit or revenue is due to COVID-19 or some other issue. And move ahead and put red flags and assess the exact impact of COVID-19 in the coming quarters. You are aware that employees are working from home, so issues of employee benefits will also arise. There will be higher communication costs. The leave policies as set up by companies would be in jeopardize. If you go on and speak of inventory counting, which is very important, then inventory counts are likely to be delayed or cancelled. And more importantly, when you write your opinions, your Inter-Audit Standard Board sets up certain standards. And last year we set up a standard which was unknown in the entire world. We gave three important facets, three important steps in assurance. The first step was an absolute assurance. The second was a reasonable assurance. And the third step was no assurance. So as chartered accountants, what has to be your audit opinion? Your degree of assurance should be known. And that is only possible when we take a call onto the entire holistic view, what is happening in the country at large. I go on to my PPT and I will discuss certain issues before I throw the entire system open to both of the very senior speakers who have come here to make you more enlightened and put at rest all doubts which may come. In the meanwhile, please feel free to ask any questions you intend to have. I start my PPT. I'll not take more than 10 to 12 minutes. In this overview, you are aware that this webinar will largely delve into the ongoing coronavirus pandemic and its disruptive and devastating effect, particularly on internal audit of our organization. We will have detailed discussions regarding the short-term and long-term ramifications on organization, some possible scenarios, and some practical considerations for internal audit leaders on their execution of their audit plan. In view of current volatility, to support management in addressing prioritize risks and objectives. Priority of objectives becomes very, very important. Once we are not able to prioritize risks and what are the related objectives out of this, then there will be problem. As internal auditors, we need to understand how we have to move ahead in getting this entire system online. There are some critical issues to ponder over amidst this severe global socio-economic disruption imparting internal audit. They are, we have internal audit plans and procedures. What are the impacts? Identifying new risks in the current context and promoting risk mitigation. How do we ensure that risk is mitigated? Risk becomes even more averse now. It is at its highest degree. The business impact and continuity consideration and measures. I spoke about going concern. The continuing consideration is very important. Improved structured reflections on improved structured reflections on the taken and anticipated measures and adding value and mobilizing in the avalanche of new challenges. These are certain critical issues on which I would request both my learned speakers to give their views. What is a silver lining to this cloud? Every diversity has a silver line. Every problem has a deep opportunity within. So what can internal audit do? Internal audit can certainly contribute enormously by providing a trusted risk perspective. Only the internal auditors can do. The entire onus of the profession now lies on the shoulders of the internal audit. Secondly, at some new point, a new business environment will emerge, which will require continually reset priorities and crisis responses. Let me tell you very candidly that now there will be a paradigm shift into the business propositions. And this paradigm shift will create certain industries where new people would be required. There would be new opportunities. Disruptive technologies will give birth to new industrial setups, and there certain good moving entrepreneurs could step in. The third is by providing critical guidance to various stakeholders, internal auditors, while preparing for the future, will also emerge stronger, providing even great value to the organization. A concurrent value, a continuous perpetual value will ensure that we take all these things into the right perspective. The last slide, what shall internal auditor do? What has an internal auditor to do in such challenging times, in such troubled times? The first and foremost is to identify new risk areas, strategize models and ways to add value and mobilize accordingly. We are people with a vision. We have a long drawn system where we understand things, and therefore we can always foresee and identify new risk areas and create strategies to ensure that value add is done. Proactively communicate with both management and audit committee stakeholders. There would be a type of chaos. The managements are not concerned where they go ahead. The boards are uncertain, and audit committee at this time needs the proactive help of a professional, and the chartered accountant, the internal auditor, to say very precisely, will be the one who will lend a helping hand and ensure that all doubts are put to rest. And the third final is that as an internal audit professional, you have to provide leadership and support for compliance frameworks, processes, and control activities. These were the areas where I thought I wanted to put certain notes to the learned speakers who have to take care of the entire initiative. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon Mr. Atul Gupta to take the first start towards it. Mr. Atul Gupta will discuss at length certain issues. Then we'll go to Mr. Rajiv Gupta, and in between you should send all questions which you intend to send to us so that we are able to take things to the right perspective. Over to Mr. Amit Gupta. Sorry, I said Atul Gupta. Amit is a very old friend, but somehow I spelled the wrong name. So I would request Mr. Amit Gupta to give a scintillating presentation on internal audit considerations in response to COVID-19. Over to Mr. Gupta.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Nandaji. Good afternoon, my professional colleagues and fellow speakers, Speaker Rajivji. Welcome to ICAI's webcast on impact of COVID-19 on internal audit. We hope you and your families are doing well and staying safe. The spread of COVID-19 has essentially affected and impacted almost all spheres of human life, physical, emotional, and economic. In India, we are all navigating through current lockdown, which may, depending upon today's situation, may prolong. Businesses are grappling with this unforeseen crisis, which they never thought of, and trying to mitigate different challenges. The organizations, their environments, and their ways of working are evolving rapidly and in ways that have not been envisioned in any risk management. Like every other crisis, we'll ride through this tide, adapt, and come out stronger. As CA professionals, to help you navigate here and now, we are doing today's webcast. We are in the middle of what is perhaps turning out to be the mother of all Black Swan events in recent times. The focus of most of the businesses is now on protecting employees, understanding the risk to their businesses, and managing disruptions caused by efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19. The full impact is still unknown. Most of the businesses are now, in fact, moving away from EBITDA-based earnings to a cash flow-based earnings. As third line of defense, internal audit is uniquely placed to play a key role in any organization for responding to the crisis. This is both from the perspective of good organizational knowledge and a highly relevant skill set. as organizations adapt to dealing with it, internal audit functions have a key role and critical role to continue to provide critical assurance to managements and boards, help advise management and the board on shifting risk and control landscape, and help anticipate the emerging risk. It's like something like Wimbledon, where nobody envisioned why they are paying $2 million a year insurance premium for pandemic for many years. To my understanding, it was close to about 15 years that they paid that premium. This year, they earned close to about $340 million as loss of profit because of that insurance policy. Nobody can really envision that. And internal audit plays a pretty key role here. As it stands today, with the global spread of pandemic, the plans for organizations that organizations are putting in place to contain and respond to outbreak are likely to be in place for a longer period of time, most probably even extending up to a year or two. Internal audit should be adequately prepared to adjust to this period in a sustainable way and adapt to this new normal. My presentation today outlines high-level views on the key internal audit considerations given the mass scale of business disruption caused by COVID-19. So, as the COVID-19 pandemic continues, the C-suite of any organization, including CEOs, CIAs, CAEs, and the IA heads, need to consider multiple things. And to support this, we have categorized this considerations into three different buckets. One is role of internal audit. Second, challenges for internal audit. And third is emerging risk areas to consider. The bullets that you see here are detailed in the further slides, and we'll discuss it there. It is critical that internal audit is proactive and prepared while remaining pragmatic as the situation continues to evolve. Let's now discuss some of these in detail. First one, the role of internal audit. The key question here is, how does internal audit recalibrate its approach to usual mechanism of cyclical audit planning and comprehensive coverage of risk? It will be important for internal auditors to consider agile portfolio management approach. For example, agile audit planning. They would need to embrace short-term prioritization and regular reviews and updates to the audit plan to mirror changing pace of risk and assurance needs. How does internal audit adjust its coverage to ensure that it takes a pragmatic and balanced consideration of risk? The principal aim of internal audit needs to be focused on things which really matter and to provide an increased level of assurance and deliver insights. Due to changing risk landscape, it is imperative that internal audit collaborate with the key stakeholders, key functional heads in the organizations to understand any new and or elevated risk and to assess how best to support with the provision of assurance. This should ideally include regular updates to the audit committees where appropriate. The third part is, how does internal audit continue to deliver its ongoing assurance activities without disrupting critical business operations at this time of crisis? So, internal audit needs to consider 5 different things. One, remote working to perform the audit, and what if any impact remote working has on the assessment of control environment being considered, and practicalities of how audit will be done. During virtual planning meetings, understand the level of electronic documentation available and request evidence as far as possible in advance to allow management time to scan paper documents where necessary. Second is, identify all key stakeholders per review and understand their availability during the planned fieldwork days. Where possible, schedule time with people in advance to undertake remote walkthroughs, or shall we say talkthroughs in the current environment, progress updates, and to discuss emerging findings. Third part is adopting and increasing the use of technologies to deliver work, such as Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Skype, so on and so forth. There are multiple ways available. Nandaji in his initial talk spoke about how physical verification is going to be done. People are finalizing the accounts as of 31st March. Internal auditors are doing their job. In certain cases, they are taking support of WhatsApp video calling to ensure that the count is happening. Or usage of drones is now becoming more popular to take care of this. So people have to innovate to ensure that audit gets done on time. Fourth part is accelerate the deployment of analytics to deliver IA work remotely, increase the coverage and focus on outliers while, while still providing valuable insights and assurance. In fact, one of the examples that I can share is a particular client where we signed on the work post lockdown because of time sensitivity. The work is happening. When we did kickoff meeting, it was duly recorded. It happened in Zoom, got recorded. The work is happening. Client has given us access to ERPs. They have given access to their document management system, and using VPN to protect their data, we are doing the work. So it depends on how you innovate and how you get the things done. This in fact becomes or shows a new way to ensure that you're cutting cost also. You're saving time on traveling, you're saving time on flight costs, etc. Next part, should IA work more closely with other assurance providers to reduce disruption to business? At this time of reduced bandwidth, it is in fact one of the best ways to ensure that management work is not disrupted. IA should seek opportunities to reduce overlaps with other relevant assurance providers such as external auditors, compliance and ERM teams. Where possible, engage with such service providers to understand their scope of work, coverage and depth of testing to be performed, to identify and progress opportunities, to collaborate and assist. This will become critical also once CARO requirements are required to be complied with next year, which will essentially be part of the current financial year now. The next element which comes is how can IA avoid having to deliver a large part of IA plan later in the year when capacity will be under pressure. In support of this, how can IA get more involved now whilst they have time? Can they adjust internal audit plan to avoid being under pressure later? Some of the factors that internal auditors need to consider are whether work can be performed remotely, leveraging technology, and if necessary, agreeing amended or reduced scope of work. If face-to-face meetings are required, execute an element of remote work now and document what is required to be done subsequently post-lockdown or when social distancing is allowed. If, for example, physical cash verification has to be done, two ways to do it. One is do it physically when the lockdown opens. Second is the one who is handling cash, let him count in front of you in front of Zoom or WhatsApp. Record all of that and you have ready evidence available. Second part is prioritize providing assurance over emerging risk areas. This can be done using different things like scenario analysis, looking at open source data available, and alerting organization on emerging issues, looking at different government policy changes which may happen later in the evening or on a last minute situation in the current marketplace, and changing customer behaviors. So we'll be discussing some of these in the third part of emerging risk areas in subsequent slide. The third element is where it is necessary to cancel or defer work, discuss with the board and the audit committee and formally agree with them if IA resources can be repurposed to support the projects or critical activities or initiatives which are relevant to organizations' need to respond to COVID-19. So, how might a gap in coverage impact the ability of audit committees to meet annual requirement for reporting on internal controls? In certain cases, for example, public sector, usually an annual opinion on internal controls or the quality of control environment is required. In such circumstances, where internal audit work may be reduced due to pandemic, it will be important to be clear on what has and has not been considered across the year, and to adopt a limitation of scope approach where needed. If, let's say, the lockdown in a hypothetical situation continues beyond mid-April, and extends for, let's say, a 6 months period, this puts significant pressure on time. And obviously, you cannot cover everything virtually. So you'll have to go for a limitation of scope approach. However, organizations should keep abreast of regulators' views, especially for regulated organizations which are either listed in BSE or NSE or are in banking and financial services. Similarly, if somebody is regulated by any other regulator, that also needs to be considered. Moving on, there are certain control considerations. Due to black swan nature of this pandemic, there is limited precedent of how COVID-19 will impact the control environment of different organizations. Many companies are experiencing discrete financial shocks and broader day-to-day disruptions that are directly challenging their risk control and defense models. These are key control environment considerations in response to COVID-19. One, impact of risk assessment. Second, effective allocation of resources. Third, remote access to job functions. Fourth is communication considerations. And fifth is adequacy of controls or alternative controls. So all of these points which you are seeing on the screen, these need to be considered when you are taking the control considerations. Moving on, the next part is challenges for internal audit. This pandemic has raised some serious challenges also for the profession. One of the basic challenges is how should internal audit function or the leader keep staff motivated and supported whilst working in a remote environment. In the current situation where you are working from home, the situation is you are looking at screen, you are not interacting with the humans. So how to keep it a workable thing? It is vital for all teams to stay connected through these challenging times. Leaders may consider implementing measures such as weekly or periodic team catch-ups, a chance to hear latest news from across a team, ask questions and share ideas. For example, in my organization, in my team, what we usually do is we have a catch-up over coffee every third day, where all team members are there online on one of the social media things. Check-ins. Check-in with individual team members to discuss any isolation issues, workloads, or any other challenges that may arise. Third is daily stand-ups. Audit teams should have ideally a short daily call, which provides an opportunity for team to give a high-level overview of their work and whether they are experiencing or delays in completing any tasks. Fourth, as we discussed, virtual coffee sessions. This is a fun way to stay connected as a team. Fifth is sharing success stories. Share success stories to different positive events which are happening across our organization to maintain a positive outlook. Look at different virtual team quizzes or contests which can keep people alert. And also plan for contingencies. Sitting at home, there is a situation that some team members may fall ill. Plan now for those contingent arrangements for each of those key audit reviews and the leadership or management team level. Think of ways to keep things moving where an audit or any other activity is business critical and take steps now to ensure smooth transition. The next one is how can internal audit continue to maintain corporate presence whilst remote working? Internal audit is usually a function which is away from the mainline corporate functions. So for them, it becomes critical to be in the line of sight of the management. Ideally, internal audit function should consider increasing the number of progress meetings held with the key stakeholders across businesses. It is imperative for teams to continue to develop strong relationships with people built around trust, credibility, efficiency, and transparency. Look at wherever possible using video calls instead of only bridge calls or mobile calls to build rapport and establish trust. Look at it this way. More communication is not going to do any harm. Less communication is going to create a situation of mistrust. So avoid those kind of situations. The next one, maintaining hygiene. How can internal audit continue to provide assurance to organizations where stakeholders have competing priorities? The functions should consider one, evaluating priorities and identifying critical work. Focus on the truly greatest risks. Second part is reducing the amount of stakeholder input required. Instead of produce short, sharp advisory pieces and leverage system access and available data to the greatest extent. Third part is providing more frequent updates in a dynamic environment. Should internal audit become more substantive in its approach? At time of such exceptional uncertainty, internal audit functions need to be pragmatic in gathering evidence of control execution or even absence of documentation and consider alternative means by which key steps and activities can be performed. However, internal audit functions should remain mindful of the following factors. One, in a time of unprecedented change with high levels of uncertainty, there is likely to be instance of control override with employees seeking workaround of existing security protocols and internal controls to keep business operations running efficiently. Second part is in such time of crisis, fraud risks may change as the new opportunities are enabled for both internal and external parties. Incentives for combating fraud, both appropriation or misappropriation of assets and financial reporting frauds, may also be heightened, especially if employee terminations occur or employees suffer significant personal financial stress. So managements need to be, and more specifically internal auditors as third line of defense, need to be cognizant of all of these. How does internal audit respond when asked to help with support work that might challenge their position on independence? Whilst recognizing and not losing sight of internal audit's primary role to provide independent and objective assurance, in times of crisis, internal auditors also need to rightfully pitch to assess the organization in areas where their expertise may be relevant. To ensure that it is not impaired, internal audit should practically look at the factors like limiting the scope to provide advice and not directly implement the solution. Second is use different Chinese walls within the team to help management support work and ensuring audit. And third is, in certain cases, deferring audit to a later date, by which time business would have assumed ownership of the specific project. The next part is, does internal audit need to get better at assessing reliability of evidence provided to internal audit? The ability to ask for evidence on site has now been eliminated, courtesy this pandemic, which reduces in turn our ability or capability to identify if something doesn't exist. Internal audit functions should consider how much documentation need be created for internal audit purposes and how relevant that evidence is. Look at who are the people who are giving you the evidence, what is the quality of evidence or reliability factor on those people. This will now become more of trust thing than if let's say a document is provided as a scanned copy, you cannot touch and feel it to look at whether it is right or wrong. So you'll have to look at those other factors. What can internal audit do if travel restrictions are restricting our ability to execute work? Frankly speaking, with all constraints put in place, it will be near impossible for people to travel outside of country and most probably within the country also for a significant period of time. We'll have to look at alternatives, maybe using support from other third parties who are locally available, who can deliver work, and depend on them to provide a limited assurance with regards to the work to be done. Last but not the least, how can internal audit deliver high quality reviews through remote working? There are three different parts to it. One is you will need to possibly increase budgets available for each review to factor in time for additional calls and efforts for remote working. Second is increasing the use of technology capabilities available, which are through either Zoom, Skype, or Teams, or different other things for virtual meetings and workshops. And 3, optimizing or reducing the number of internal audit reviews to be completed in a year. One cannot really do a 10 or 20 or 30 different reviews which are planned earlier, as always. Moving to the next part, which is on emerging risks for internal auditors to consider. The first one here is user access controls. Due to flexible working arrangements and individuals requiring greater access to help cover for people who are off, user access controls may be compromised and conflicts of interest may arise. Internal audit considerations could include monitoring controls in place. Whilst it may be necessary to remove segregation of duties, rules in place, it is critical for organizations to maintain an audit trail that can be referred to at a later date. Second part is detection of fraud risk and management overrides needs to be done. The next one is finance. Internal audit factors could include understanding working capital requirements against scenario planning, assumptions, and assessing cash flow forecasts. Has the organization done all it can to access government provided fiscal support? And does it understand the longer term implication for that support? For example, repayment of loan or mortgages, those kind of things. Third part is challenging completeness of management accounting and reporting impact analysis, particularly in the context of finalizing March 2020 or any other period that regulator may prescribe. Internal controls. Internal audit should consider the changes, both temporary and permanent, being made to organizations' internal control environment with a specific focus on management review controls, accounting judgment controls, which may be with regards to bad debts, inventory provisions, impairment of goodwill, intangible assets, or stuff like fair value of financial and non-financial assets. Looking at associate or joint venture accounting controls, this also becomes critical because the management oversight is not really there in those entities, and so internal auditor's role becomes critical. Fourth part, transaction processing controls, cash payment controls, automated business controls, outsourced service providers, insider trading concerns, key persons dependency or super user accesses, and resilience and remote working. In risk management, internal auditors considerations could include: does organization have ongoing processes in place to continue to meet all of its regulatory requirements and responsibilities? And does the risk assessment process need to become more agile and adopt more dynamic risk assessment methodologies? Frankly speaking, in one of the surveys that we did, close to what I think 6% of the organizations had planned for a shutdown of this kind, while they had very robust and very meticulous risk management processes in place. That actually shows how it works. Looking at adequacy of business continuity, so internal auditor should look at and can help organization understanding any single point of failure. For example, processes, people, and technology. Developing and testing appropriate scenarios, plans, and measures. Validating and challenging the key management information used by the managements to make decisions on mission critical activities, and challenging and benchmarking it. The next part is challenging management's forecast of business impact. For example, going concern, any kind of actuarial valuation of pensions or leaves, goodwill and intangibles, or expected credit losses. Noting that reporting deadlines are approaching and that many organizations have made promises in different analyst calls, and besides which they have also made different commitments for customers and to general public. Are these being delivered, and is their financial impact being estimated properly and appropriately? Something like if somebody says, I am going to donate X amount to a fund or to an NGO, Is this really reflecting in the books of account? And last but not the least, considering management's assessment, monitoring, and contingency plans of key outsourced service providers, because these are totally external and management will not have any view on that. And last but not the least, insurance coverages, which we spoke earlier. It should include, as bedrooms become more permanent home offices, are there increased exposures in insurance liabilities? Frankly speaking, none of the businesses would have covered a risk of loss or data privacy loss in their insurance coverages because of data loss happening at a particular employee's home. If I am using my personal Wi-Fi and that is hacked, the loss remains with the company remains responsible along with the employee. So that is something which needs to be covered in the insurance coverages. And our health and safety regulations are still being complied with. Moving on. Contracts. So in contracts, internal audit should typically focus on, has the organization identified or does internal audit have access to assist in identifying key contractual clauses which may offer relief during this time, such as force majeure, notice provisions, disaster recovery and business continuity provisions, limitation of liability, liquidated damages, governing laws and jurisdiction, supplier or subcontractor locations and supply chain path, termination rights, insurance, and other applicable clauses. Likewise, in human capital, internal audit considerations could include adequacy of plans being put in place by organizations to maintain the health and well-being of their workforce, including implications for impact on mental health and remote working. Ensuring that any workarounds used during lockdown are regularized and appropriately controlled. Is there guidance available and complied with on appropriate use of social media during this crisis period? And has the impact been considered on business as usual HR processes, such as annual performance assessment, which has been potentially suspended or delayed? Here, what also becomes critical is, for example, when work from home was implemented prior to lockdown, most of the companies had suspended the usage of biometric, with the result that was a workaround for people to enter office. But then with that, what really happened is your attendance tracking went for a toss. So those are the things which companies will possibly need to focus on. There is another which is underlying thing. If people are not there and if operations are working, what is the optimum number of people you require in your function? Those kind of things, considerations are also required to be looked at by internal audit. And these are real life situations which will or are coming up as we discuss. The last one, cyber. So this is the most critical of all of it with different work from home scenarios. As the number of remote working environments and usage of third party softwares to improve effectiveness and of remote working continues or increases, individuals may inadvertently compromise the business security. Internal audit should typically focus on including, are remote access controls built to scale? Are these really working fine? Do I have adequate checks in place to ensure that people are not misusing my IT equipment which they have at their home? Or how are they taking care of the data thefts which may happen from my home? So those kind of things need to be looked at. How are organizations raising awareness and bolstering threat detection and response to promote proactive identification of malicious activity? How are organizations tracking third-party security plans to prioritize access availability of services? Fourth is, are handheld devices being used more as people work more remotely? And if so, are they secured and controlled? Most of the people nowadays use mobiles for doing different video calls or Skype calls or Zoom. Are these really secure? So those become critical questions for internal audit to consider. How is organization monitoring malicious or inadvertent insider threat risk caused by disgruntled or displaced employees or contractors? Now that offices are off and work is happening from homes, the reliance on these third parties become more critical. And last but not the least, how is organization monitoring the increased use of collaboration tools and others often unapproved or unmanaged applications? So, to conclude, moving back to my initial slide, we discussed the three different buckets: role, challenges, and emerging risks. I think most of these, with this pandemic, have shown the mirror to all of us. What to do, how to do, and why to do. Over to you, Nandaji.
Thank you, Amitji. Let me give you some good news. Hello?
Yes, sir.
The good news is that
Yes, sir.
close to 5,000 people are, the good news is that close to 5,000 people are viewing this session all over the country.
Wow, this is really nice.
Hello? Yes, and second
This
thing,
is really
I have
nice.
received more than 100, and I have received more than 100 questions in your session. Your and my session including. So we'll take them. So I'll request Mr. Rajiv to take his session, and thereafter
Sure.
we'll go ahead. Mr. Rajiv, now it's your chance. So we'll have to keep at least half an hour. The time is now 4:45. So we'll keep at least half an hour to take all questions which are coming at a very big pace. So we have to see that all go home enlightened. Over to Mr. Rajiv Gupta for his piece of information and very enlightened presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, I present before you Mr. Rajiv Gupta. Over to Gupta.
Yeah, thank you, Nandaji. And so I would also like to thank Amit ji, because a lot of insights you have already shared, and I will keep only that aspect of my thoughts which are more from the industry perspective, and that will help us address a lot of questions from the participants. Yeah. So first of all, before I go into the insights which I have prepared for discussion today, see, I'm sure none of us ever thought that we will ever face this type of pandemic situation, at least not in our lifetime. And I'm sure when as a risk manager or as an internal auditor or internal controls manager, if we would have ever told our clients or our managing directors that preparation for pandemic has to be one of our top priorities, I'm sure we would have been tagged either as someone who is theoretical or someone who doesn't really understand the business risks. And I would say till COVID-19, to some extent they were also right, because in any risk management committees, when the discussion happens for what is going to be the top risk focus for next year, it's always a combination of the magnitude of risk as well as the probability of that risk to happen. And before COVID-19, I think everybody would have thought of this type of pandemic to happen maybe once in 500 years or once in 1,000 years. And hence people would have just striked off saying it may not happen in my 80 or 100 years, of lifetime. But see, here we are. We are actually seeing this pandemic. And there is very old saying, which is that time is the biggest teacher. And what I have collated for our discussion in next half an hour, 45 minutes, times in last 1.5 to 2 months, and I will just skip those which matches with what Amit ji have already shared, and we'll just add the industry perspective or what I am seeing and what I am doing as the what exactly is pandemic? Because we all are saying this has been announced as pandemic. See, it's actually a combination of the two Greek word, which is pen and demos, which means all people. So primarily, any epidemic which impacts larger geography, that is termed as a pandemic, and hence COVID is the one which has been announced as pandemic. On the right hand side, what I have done yesterday evening, I just went to WHO website and I just picked up the number of reported deaths as per World Health Organization. Two epidemics as well. One was SARS, which 3, and the number of reported deaths were 813 in there. And then around 6 years later, we had swine flu, where the number of deaths later we have this COVID-19, where if you see versus swine flu, the number of deaths reported till 9th of April, which is day before yesterday, as per WHO is about 88,000. Yeah. And unfortunately, these numbers are still growing. And the impact which we are seeing because of COVID-19 is much more beyond the number on 20 world. Most of the organizations have cross-regional presence and cross-geographical environment. In that type of a world where this world is seen as one economy, this type of outbreak is having much more exponential impact, not only on the physical well-being, but also on the mental and the economic well-being of all of us. So more to see as the situation further either worsens or the trend goes down. So we'll learn more as we. What I have done for the purpose of today's webinar, I have split the internal audit considerations into 3 parts. One is the pre-pandemic phase, how we as internal auditors we can prepare the organizations for any such pandemic in future. Now, COVID-19 is a reality, so we can't really go into pre-pandemic phase for COVID, but in future, how we can prepare organizations. So that is one part I will cover. Second is the internal audit considerations during any such pandemic. That is my second part. And third is what we can consider once that pandemic phase is over, once we are coming back to normalcy, what can be the internal audit considerations where we all can focus as we reach that stage. So to start with, internal audits in pre-pandemic phase. See, the first one, I would say once COVID-19 is over, I think there is a need for us as internal auditors and the risk professionals to really challenge our organizations and our clients on how effective is their business continuity and crisis management plans. If you ask me, in last 20 odd years of my professional career so far, I've seen almost every organization having a BCP and having a crisis management plan. Yeah, on paper, everybody has it. To some extent, they test as well because it is one of the audit requirements. But to what extent they are actually ready? Is their business continuity plan restricted to checking whether they can access their ERP from the homes or from another office, or it is really going beyond that. If for an extended period of time, my business has to operate out of my real office, do I have complete infrastructure to actually run my operation for a longer period of time? To take an example, if a lot of printouts have to be taken in the office, yeah, so if you are doing a testing where the employees are taking their laptops home and just trying to connect to the ERP, that is not an effective BCP testing, because what about printers? How are you going to print the documents which you actually do when you are in office? So 1 or 2 days BCP may make sense. But what in this type of extended situation where already we are at the end of 21 days and it may get extended further as the government announcement happens. There may be there are many organizations which use board numbers. For example, the shared services centers, the call centers. Their main job initiates through people calling on the board numbers, on their centralized numbers. Now, how they are actually doing the BCP testing of their if any such pandemic happens again tomorrow. And why I am emphasizing on this, because you would be hearing in news that right now the talks which are happening is about there is a possibility of second wave coming in. Now, it may or may not. Okay, screen share, let me do again. But I am audible, right? Okay. Yeah, let me know once the screen appears. Is it back? Super. Okay, thank you so much. So it's on the BCP and the crisis management, how seriously that is being taken. So on the second wave, now it may or may not happen now, but how well our organizations and our clients are getting prepared for this type of scenario in future is something where we as risk professionals can play a big role on. And when we are doing it, I don't think there is a need for us to actually participate in preparing it as in the pre-pandemic phase. We can definitely be an observer when the real testing of their crisis management and BCP is happening. And based on the learnings we are having now, we can see whether how effectively they are doing it, the testing part, and is there any improvement they need to do to really make their continuity plan robust for any such a pandemic in future. So that's the first piece. Second, absolutely is on the working capital management and the liquidity. See, we all have seen right now with the mandate lockdown, most of the businesses are closed. It's only the essential items which are being sold. So what does that mean? Any organization which is not into the business of food items and medicines, they are having zero revenue right now. But there are many fixed costs which they have to keep incurring. The bare minimum is the salary cost. Yeah, there's lot of worry among many professionals and consultants and those employees who are at the lower level or in the hierarchy as to whether their job will remain or not, or if they are working for smaller organization, whether that organization will continue without any revenues, whether it will continue paying their salaries, whether it will continue paying the rentals and so on. So as risk professionals, I think once we are out of this COVID-19 situation, to prepare your organization for any such pandemic in future, how well the organization is managing their liquidity is gonna play a very important role, so that we prepare them for a scenario where no revenue comes in for extended period of time. So to what extent that organization can continue and what would be the other measures to ensure that it continues as a going concern. So these are my thoughts on the first phase, which is pre-pandemic. Now, if I move on to the second one, which is what we can do as internal auditors, basically as chartered accountants and risk professionals, what we can do during the pandemic phase. So I would say, this is the time when traditional audits needs to be reconsidered. That is this the right time? Is this the right mindset to also focus, to continue to focus on the traditional audits, which we got approved as part of our annual audit plan with the audit committee. I strongly feel that in these type of situations, the audits needs to become much more focused. You may not have planned any particular cyber audit in this period, but I think as risk professionals, this is the most important time when we relook at the cyber agility and the resilience of the organization, because this is the time when a lot of phishing attacks happen and are happening right now. There are a lot of fake websites, a lot of fake apps which have come up, which are saying you click on this app and it will tell you the real-time numbers of deaths happening across the globe, in your country, in your state, in your city. There are a lot of fake apps which are saying if you install these apps on your mobile and when you're walking or you're going for any essential purchase, if you are near any of the affected patient, it will alert you. Now, there are some which are genuine apps, but there are many which are fake. So what if any of your employee is clicking on those apps and links coming to their mobile phones and to their laptops? So it exposes your organization to a new sort of risk, and ransomware has been there for quite good number of years. So let's ensure that these type of cyber audits, the focus on cyber audit continues during this period, even though it may not be in your plan for this quarter or for these 6 months. My second view is on the current situation where travel has got 100% stop. Yeah, nobody is traveling, nobody is going out of their home. Now, one option is we stop everything, we don't do any audit, and I believe everybody would understand as well. But there are a couple of things which we can definitely do in this connected world. Even though we are at home, but our ERP, our accounting systems are still up and running. And there is a huge potential for us to prioritize those audits which we may have planned for a later period. Can we bring them now? Which are one, which can be data analytics driven, which many of us call as desktop audits. So can we actually do those desktop audits which we thought we'll do 3 months, 6 months later? Can we do now? Because then you don't need to travel. You can download your organizational data. You can do analytics, and you can make out whether there are some exceptions to your organizational policies, and then you can have those virtual meetings and virtual audit to get those audit findings and audit reports released after discussion with the functional directors and the process owners. So I think these 3 areas needs to be super prioritized right now in this pandemic situation. And I think right now, even though we may be an internal auditor for an organization, but before being an internal auditor, we are a chartered accountant and a risk professional. And if the organization needs us to wear the bigger cap of being a risk professionals beyond auditor, I think we should be ready to take up that challenge. And hence, I'm saying, and business partnering, where I think both in crisis management and in business continuity, at this point in time, we can play a big role, not in auditing only, but in actually driving the crisis management process on ground, driving the business continuity process on ground. I'm again sharing not as an auditor, but also as a risk professional, because the knowledge and the experience which we have gained as risk professional is much beyond the internal audit. So can we actually help business with that knowledge right now in continuing their business? Right now, essential commodities is the only business which is running, but can we also ensure, help them, partner with them in the crisis management? I'm playing a role of one of the crisis management leader in my organization currently, not as an auditor, but as one of the leader. And I encourage you as well to evaluate whether if you would like to play any similar role. Third one, again, I think which from business partnering perspective, we are very well equipped to play is from the controls monitoring perspective. Yeah. So again, it is data analysis driven, but it is more, from the internal controls and the second line of defense perspective. See, in this current situation, every day, the organizational leaders are taking new decisions to keep their, to keep their business running, to have their organization as going concern. When new decisions are being taken, a lot of exceptions are also happening right now. There are a lot of decisions being taken which are beyond the policy which the companies have either at the India level or at the global level. And hence, the risk of fraud and manipulation also is increasing. And you will be hearing, you will be seeing also in the news channels and in the news app that how some of the vendors, they are trying to take advantage of this situation when people are really stressed out, when people are really under a lot of concerns. So controls monitoring is a role which we can play, again, not as an internal auditor, but as a risk professional. Yeah. Now, many of you may have a doubt in mind and maybe typing that question that how can we as internal auditor play any of these roles which are on the right hand side? Because then how we will ensure our independence tomorrow once situation normalizes. So that concern is absolutely right, and it can create segregation of duties concern, but there are solved for that. There are ways to manage that. One is for those areas where you are actually partnering rather than auditing right now, you can always have a third party, one of the external auditors, to help you do internal audit for that area once situation normalizes. Or if you are having a big in-house internal audit team, then you can also ensure that the team which is doing internal audit of these areas is independent of the team which is doing the business partnering thing. So there are many ways to manage that, the conflict of interest and the segregation of duties risk as well. The idea is, if we have the intent to help our organization continue as a going concern, this is the right time for us to wear the cap of a risk professional beyond being the internal auditor as only. A few more areas which I think during these pandemic situation we can play a very big role is cyber risk training. Yeah, as I shared in the previous slide, cyber criminals are becoming all the more active, and this is the best time for them because they have nothing else to do right now. They know everybody is connected to everybody else through internet. So this is the best opportunity for them there's a best chance for them to do potential phishing attack on higher number of online users. And I think with new attacks happening, new cyber crimes coming up, we can play a big role there in providing the training of the emerging cyber risk to our organizations. You can think of doing it once in a week or once in fortnight or once in a month, capturing especially the newer risk, cyber risk you are hearing, you are seeing, and what your employees can actually do to ensure that they don't get caught in any of those phishing attacks or any of those cyber crimes. So that's another big area where we can play a role. Another one which I think some organizations have very seriously started working on, and many have to start soon, is what will be your organization's return to work planning and return to work policy. It is not going to happen that say tomorrow the government will announce, okay, the lockdown is open. All your thousands of employees the very next day can go to office. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think even infrastructure wise, anybody would be ready for this to happen, because there may be still some people, some employees who are infected and they may not be aware. As you all know, it takes up to 48 hours for the symptom to start showing on an individual that he is affected by coronavirus. So when the government will announce that the lockdown is over, there may still be some people who are still affected, but they don't know. So if we allow all of the employees, the entire country to come to office the very next day, it is gonna be a big challenge. So organizations have to prepare for what are the tests they're gonna do. Yeah. How they're gonna ensure that none of the employees who is coming to office has any of the potential, symptoms. So very detailed and meticulous return to workplace policy needs to be formulated. And I feel that we as risk professionals, we can play a big part in partnering with our organizations and with our clients in getting this policy designed. The last two pieces on this one is alignment. See, we as internal auditor, we work very closely with our statutory auditors, external auditors, and we work under the guidance of our board of directors and the audit committee. So any change which I am referring to in last few minutes, any change in the audit plan, on-ground audit which you are doing, and any attempt from your side to do any of the business partnering, it has to have the blessings of the board of directors, especially the audit committee, and it has to be also aligned with the statutory or the external auditors, because they also rely on a lot of the work which you do as internal auditor in forming their opinion while signing the audit report. Whether they rely on your SOX audit part, IFC, or any other reliance strategy which jointly you and external auditors are following. So alignment is very, very important, because otherwise anything and everything you will be doing with all the good intention in this pandemic situation may go for a toss. The last section, the third section, is on the post-pandemic. So, I am sure this is the stage which is gonna come very soon, and the lockdown soon will announce that that restriction is over. Now, suppose you are on day one when the lockdown restriction has been taken off. Now, for any organization, supply chain and commercial, which is sales, they are the biggest risk areas for any industry. Now, when you are back from the lockdown, are you going to focus on these biggest risk areas or something else? So there, my view is, while these two are the biggest risk areas for any organization, you may need to give breathing time to these two functions to actually bring the organization back on track. There would have been no production happening, at least for last 21 days, I'm sure. And sale is all zero, because all restaurants, all shops, malls, bars, everything is shut down. So there is no sale happening, and all the companies are eating from their reserves. So in the interest of the going concern, I think sales and the supply chain, both these functions need to be given some time to bring the business back on track. And that doesn't mean that we don't need to do audit. We can focus on some other areas for that agreed period, maybe 2 months, maybe 1 month, maybe 3 months. It will depend on organization to organization. Regulatory compliance is something which is not negotiable. Yeah. So during the time when our other two functions, they are busy bringing the business back on track, can we as internal auditors prioritize and focus on regulatory compliances and see if any of those got missed during this period, and how we can bring any of those non-compliances into into our risk focus and get those remediated. And fourthly, something which is not on paper right now. Please see that in last 3 weeks, people have realized that they can live without a lot of things which they thought they can't live without. Pizzas, pastas, movie halls, face-to-face meetings, long drives, a lot of those things which we thought we cannot live without, or having, every weekend dinners, family dinner in restaurants. We thought we cannot live without that, but people are saying that they can still survive and be healthy without those. So I very strongly feel that once we are out of the lockdown situation, there are many organizations who would have thought of doing a lot of capital investments or expansion projects, and they would have got on hold because of this pandemic situation. I feel the organizations need to continue keeping those projects on hold at least for some time after the pandemic situation is over, to evaluate what has been changed in the people preference. Are people really liking ordering food online versus going out to the restaurants? Are people really have people really got hooked to Netflix, Amazon Prime and others? So they may not be, going out to the cinema halls with that frequency which they were doing earlier. So I'm sure there is gonna significant change in people's preference, people's ways of living, working, in post-pandemic situation. So I think there is time for us to then just see that trend and then make our capital expenditures and the expansion projects accordingly, so that we capture on the change in trends which we are seeing because of this situation. So broadly, that was it, which was in addition to what Amitji shared. That's what I'm seeing in the industry as one of the internal audit heads, and based on discussion with my other colleagues, in the industry and outside industry. And with that, I would say till the time this pandemic continues, please keep distance and let's be safe. And with that, I will pass it back to Namji for any. So I heard a lot of questions had come initially.
Yes.
Nandaji, over to you.
Thank you, sir, for a mind-boggling presentation. We had great 2 presentations today. Both of them were par excellence. So now I go on to the question answer session. There are close to 160 questions that have come. So I'll try to take it from start, as many as we can take in half an hour. I got a question from Mr. Satendra Srivastava, who says, how internal auditor plays a role as business auditor because industries are seeking auditors advisors. What is the role of internal auditor as a business advisor? And second question is, what will be the new approach to do internal audit? And the same person has a third question, future of internal audit in current scenario. So you can give a holistic answer to the entire query. Sir.
So Amitji, I can start and please add to that. So I think this is the right time to discuss with the functional directors, most probably with the CFOs and the finance controllers, as to which are the crises they are trying to manage financially and from the governance perspective, and where we, basis the experience which we are carrying, how we can contribute, not as an auditor but as risk professional. So I don't think there is a limit to that. It all depends upon what is there on the. In terms of audit approach, I think the focus of audit's gonna change. Audit is going to be people are going to really adopt much more virtual meetings, because we all have tasted those now. You see, you heard Nandaji sharing that there are 5,000 members who are, on this webinar right now. And fortunately, there were very few technical glitches. So it is quite possible that organizations also would be seeing that this is an amazing opportunity for us to save travel cost. And that way, the ways of working are definitely going to change, and the focus areas of us as internal auditors are going to change. Cyber is going to become much bigger, along with data analytics and virtual auditing. So Amitji, please add. Amitji, you're on mute.
Able to hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So there are a couple of points here. One is the business of internal audit. And I usually call it business of internal audit because internal audit cannot remain really a cost center. It cannot sit at the fence and only look at pointing errors. In last couple of years, and more so with the economic recession coupled with the COVID situation, the focus of management is, are you really adding value to the business? And which is where it becomes more and more critical. You just cannot point observation and leave it at that. You have to support on monitoring the implementation also, which is where the role of business auditor comes in. Second part is when you're doing the audit, it is no longer limited to only doing a review of business processes, ignoring the technology or the other relevant aspects in a black box manner. You have to now focus on the complete start to end thing. If I'm talking about, let's say, procure to pay audit, it doesn't start only from quotation to receiving the material. It moves from user intent which is raised at time of business requirement. Internal auditor is also required to question why do you really need the material, instead of looking at only has it been procured from the right sources. So those kind of things are becoming more and more critical. Second is, if let's say in a procure to pay process, procurement is happening using a third party platform like Ariba, internal audit also needs to cover robustness of that platform. It cannot be only the process part of it, that whether am I taking 3 quotations, am I taking am I doing comparative analysis. Also look at the technology aspect, whether it can be fiddled around or how secure it is. So those kind of things become more and more critical. I hope I have answered that. Nandaji, over to you.
Yes, sir, I agree. We have to take a holistic view to ensure that all aspects are properly taken into account and a plausible solution is offered. I will give you the latest statistics as of now. At 5:25 p.m., the total viewers are 5,557 and the total IPs involved are 4,245. I come to the second question, which comes from Mr. Abhishek of Gurgaon. He is given a very brief overview and then he asks the question. He writes, these are trying times where each and every aspect of the business will get impacted. other than the short-term direct impact, which will last for 3 to 6 months, there will be larger impact on businesses which may take a year or two to normalize. With a direct hit on revenue on account of recessionary trends in the global economy, efficiency, cost saving, avoidance of discretionary spends will be the norm, which will have its impact on the internal audit function as well. My question is, what are the changes that should be made in internal audit offerings so that decision makers see us not only as control implementers but as overall custodians of the business? A very well framed and very well thought out answer. I request Mr. Amit Gupta and then Mr. Rajiv to follow. Mr. Gupta.
So, Nandaji, this is a question which is pretty much similar to the previous one, where we are talking about holistically what internal auditor needs to focus on and what value he needs to bring to the table. Pretty much same. The focus has to go from internal controls or plain vanilla internal controls to technology controls or cyber risk. Look at how you can deliver audits more efficiently. So, not consume too much of management time, but do work in a more realistic or critical way, wherein you come out with crystal clear observations, do deep dive, I do cover root causing, and I usually follow a 5 whys approach for every observation. Why it happened? To drill down the
Great.
Then come out with a management action plan, which makes sense to the management for implementation. These are things which
Sir, we are not able to listen to you, Mr. Amit. Yes,
Are you able to
Rajiv ji.
listen to me now?
Yes. Your
Yeah,
last
you're
leg,
audible
if
now.
you could repeat. Last leg, if you could repeat, please.
So basically,
Mr. Amit, your last leg.
So basically, the thing is, internal auditor cannot remain on the sidelines. He has to get his skin into the game, get his observations, root causing, and the overall coverage right to be able to make sense to business, and which is what Matthew can deliver do. Over to you, Rajiv.
Yeah. Thanks, Amajit. Just to add only 2 points to that. One is, see, this is the time once we are back from this pandemic, the organization and the leaders would be expecting us to focus more on the business risks instead of only the audit risks. So when I say business risk, anything and everything which will help them become more leaner and more meaner in delivering what they have to deliver. For example, if it is commercial function, they have to their job is to have a better top line, and if it is supply chain, their job is to deliver the products at the lowest possible cost. So how then as part of our audit, we can focus on those business risk areas where we highlight that these are the areas where you are, for example, spending more, or where you are wasting, some inventory or waste, there's higher percentage of waste in your process. I think those type of focus will really help business in achieving the same objective, rather than us looking only at the audit risk and business looking at their top line and the bottom line. So that's my view.
Great. Sir, I have received calls from questions from so many members asking to give guidance for SMPs, because he says that some internal audits are covering private limited companies or even, am I audible, even proprietorship business having turnover of rupees 2 crores to 5 crores. If seminar should include small entities as well, it should be beneficial. So what I want to announce today, that we'll have a series of SMP practices. The Internal Audit Board does such seminars, but we can keep it on web. We can have webinars on areas of focus for small and medium practitioners. Over to the next question from Mr. Rakesh Kumar Oberoi. Mr. Oberoi says, please enlighten us on how to perform internal audit online in the present scenario without compromising our responsibilities as internal auditor. Is largely how internal audit can be undertaken, because certain standards need to be overlooked. Everything will not be handy as such. So he feels that how internal audit can be conducted online. So your views on that?
Yeah. So maybe I will start, Amiji, and please add. See, in this connected world and in the environment where many organizations are using central accounting system and ERPs, which are the backbone of the organization, a lot can be done remotely. Yeah. And if you see these days, many of the organizations are putting all the supporting documents, all the invoices, bills, and everything as a scanned document into their those accounting systems, or whichever the secondary systems that they have. So to a great extent, audit can be done. See, one thing which we're gonna miss is that professional skepticism which sometimes comes into picture when we really look at the physical document. Yeah, many of us love to look at, touch and feel the physical document, because to many of us it gives a hint whether that expense is genuine, not genuine, whether it's a fake invoice, or whether it's a illegitimate expense. So the touch and feel you're gonna miss for sure, but that's the direction in which anyways many organizations are going, where all the documents are becoming as soft copy documents, virtual documents are available. So I think the focus is gonna more on data analytics plus review of the scanned documents. You can still review a lot of, whatever is your sample size, whether 25, 35, 50, you can still do those, check those. It's gonna increase the size of your mailbox for sure. But I think that's a workable solution in my view. Amiji.
Okay, just a minor extension to it. What happens is when you do audit in a remote working environment, through VPN you can access all these data systems. So may not really look at the data. You have to look at how you can record those conversations on call in a professional manner. About professionalism, recording it, please inform the person in advance, the other person in advance that you're recording it. Otherwise, from the data privacy perspective, it becomes a challenge.
Amiji, you are not audible.
Nandaji, can you please mute your speaker? Nandaji, can you mute? Okay, now it is audible. Perfect. So, thing is, when you are doing an audit, you have to look at one, the remote access to different ERP systems and document management systems. Second is recording your conversations or video conferences to maintain an audit evidence. So those are two things that you have to look at. When you're doing the second part, which is in addition to the first one, which Rajiv ji has already covered, do take concerns of the people with whom you are doing the discussions. Otherwise, it may run foul of the data privacy laws in the country. Over to you, Nandaji.
Thank you so much, sir. On the specific issue, there are certain talks in the town. You are aware that bank audit season is here. The branch audits have to be done. So there was a talk that branch audit may not be taken care of. We may not be asked to do branch audit, and simply the reports can be given by central statutory auditors. The matter has been addressed by the institute, but we need to take a deeper note of this thing, a serious note of this thing, and issue guidance that in such times, if online the audit has to be done, what are the checkpoints which has to be taken into account? The next question is from Mr. Agni Vijay Kumar from Chennai. He says, as internal auditors, we need to give a separate report about the closure of the operations of the auditee, covering details about their actual closure date and reporting, or we can include in a short manner in the main internal audit report of the last quarter. because of the period in which operations have been halted, what has to be the note?
So,
So, Mr. Gupta, if you want to take. Yes, sir.
So basically what happens is internal audit can be covered in two parts. One is in terms of period, second is in terms of phases, processes. If you are covering by process, it doesn't really impact whether you do it now or you do it 6 months down the line or 8 months down the line. If you're covering for the period, because the operations have not occurred during this period, and I'm presuming other than paying out salaries or paying out your fixed overheads, nothing would have really occurred during the period of lockdown. It won't really have a major impact. It can be taken as part of the sample in the subsequent period. Rajiv ji, please add if there is anything to be done in addition.
No, I agree with you, Amit. Nothing else to add on this one.
Thank
Nandaji.
you. There is a question from Mr. Janmay in Delhi. He says whether impact of the COVID period falling in financial year 1920 can be carried forward as deferred revenue loss and represented through provisions as it is due to force majeure conditions, and in subsequent years these losses can be unwinded. Rajiv ji.
Sir, I think Rajiv ji.
Please, Amit ji. Please.
Yeah, Amit ji, carry on. Yeah.
Sir, I think accounting standard board will need to take a view on that because that has a larger implication.
Correct. And I think a lot of guidances, Amit are coming, and so I think we to just wait and continue having watch on all these guidances, not only I would say from India but also from the global perspective. All the regulatory bodies, they are coming up with guidances on a lot of exemptions which they have to give in this period. So we have to keep an eye on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have a very nice question from Mr. Kamlesh Khan Chandani, Mumbai. He says, what do you think would be the expectations of the audit committee from the CAE considering the current circumstances and for the next couple of quarters?
So maybe I can start
Very
with this.
question.
Amit. See, right now, Nandaji, what I sense is for every organization, the barriers of which department I belong to are no longer visible. Yeah. Now everybody is looking at how they can contribute in ensuring the survival going concern of their organization. So that is now in this situation is the biggest focus of every professional. Forget about leaders only. So you are no longer an internal auditor. You are a risk professional. You are a chartered accountant who is carrying some knowledge and experience, and how you can enable your organization either in managing this crisis well for everyone, for this organization to continue, or in, for example, if you are into essential commodities and medicines and all those, how you are partnering in ensuring that those the supplies are continuing and the controls are not getting impacted. So how you can play a role there. So that's a big piece where we can contribute. And there may be some more, those last minute projects which the organization may be taking to maintain their liquidity. It may there's a lot of work which is happening in the treasury function across the organizations. So what role you can play in partnering with them in ensuring that the right liquidity is available to continue paying the fixed overheads in these testing times. So a lot to do beyond internal audit, and I think audit committees are fully, in general, are fully aligned to this this thought process. And but whatever you actually start focusing on, they have to be aligned on the specific business partnering initiatives which you are trying to do. Many organizations have also started giving their internal auditors on loan to other functions. Yeah. So they have started giving their auditors to to work in, say, procurement team for a month or two, or in commercial, or whichever function needs someone to be manned, because in many organizations people are out because of this pandemic. They are either impacted or there's someone in their family is affected, so they are not able to do their job. So someone has to backfill. So many organizations have started providing their auditors on loan. And as I shared earlier, that conflict of interest and segregation of duty is something which can be very well managed to avoid any concern later on. So I think this is an amazing opportunity for us to be seen beyond internal auditors. Amit.
No, I think well covered. We can go ahead.
Nandaji.
Before I take the question ahead, I have close to 180 questions. It is not possible to take them by 6 o'clock. So I request you, both of you are present. We have a webinar on 17th of April. It is on Indian auto sector, adaptive risk management framework in times of uncertainty. So the time is from 6 to 8. So if it is possible, both of you are there, then we can extend this question answer session on 17th from 5 to 6. Can I announce that?
Sure, Nandaji. Would love to participate.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you have so many questions, and we are very keen to answer all your questions. But paucity of time is stopping us. We will try to take as many questions we can take by till 6 o'clock, because that is the scheduled time. After that, we have a follow-on session of this session, which is being scheduled today. It is on 17th of April, 5 to 6 in the evening. Am I clear? So I go on to the next question, which comes from Subramani, Bangalore. Subramani says, is COVID effect to need to discuss in intra-audit report, and is there any management representation letter for that? Sir.
Amit ji.
राजीव जी, आपके गांव का क्वेश्चन नहीं है भाई साहब?
So,
Bangalore.
See, from my view, for sure, COVID, the impact of COVID will have a significant mention, not a significant mention and impact, not only in the audit committee but also in the entire board presentation. Every function has got significantly impacted, and we are absolutely we are not those which are untouched. Significant impact is on our scope, our coverage, as well, in case we are not able to, do remote audit, if we are not able to do data analytics of any other significant areas. So absolutely, the impact will be there, and that representation has to be made. My only call out here is, it's very important for us to keep the audit committee and the chairman aligned as we progress, and not to wait for that quarterly meeting to happen, because right now we are making a lot of changes in the way we are working, a lot of changes in what we are covering as internal auditors. So their alignment and their blessings are very, very important to ensure that there is no surprise and no shocks in the quarterly audit committee meetings. Amit ji.
So, as I mentioned during my presentation also, I think it is critical to be cognizant that we are impacted by COVID. There is no denying that. And as auditors, I'm not sure about others, but at least I am very happy if I see papers in my hand. And with the issue now, which is being, you have to do remote working, there will be different ways where organization will get impacted, be it in terms of remote access to technology systems, be it data flowing over unsecured modes of communication, which will have a serious impact on the organization. And as Rajiv ji mentioned, I think it is extremely, extremely critical to keep both not only the board and audit committee, but also the chief executive of the business aligned with the ways internal audit is figuring out the business of running the audits. So critical to keep everybody in the loop and adequately communicated with regards to how audit is being done. Now, coming to the second part, which is management representation, or my view is typically internal audit is not required to take a management representation because they are part of the management as part of third line of defense. What they should ideally be doing is, if let's say there are certain workarounds, please mention it in so many words in your reports, and also keep everybody informed about it. Not only pushing a line in the report in some corner. So, critical to keep both verbal and written communication very clear on this. And this the situation, as we discussed, I saw a news flash saying lockdown is going to get extended and there may be further extensions. So, it depends. We will have to live with this situation for at least a year or so for coming back to the old normal, which may not remain per se. So, it will be preferable to keep both verbal and written communications extremely clear and leave an audit trail of how audit has been done. So, over to you, Nandaji.
Hello. I have a very
Yeah,
particular
Nandaji.
question from Mr. Anand Joshi, Mumbai. Mr. Joshi said their client has lost some data owing to COVID-19 on its system, due to which trail not traceable. How to deal with such a situation as an internal auditor? Data is not there. Maybe in rush, it has been destroyed, it has been misplaced, or something of that sort has happened.
So in my view,
Very
Nandaji, that
typical,
would be
typical
scope.
issue.
Yeah, that would be scope limitation for the way, for example, when we form our audit opinion and we issue the report, normally we tend to cover a year or 15, a year or year and a half in our audit period. So in case a portion of data is lost and hence we cannot either analyze that data or pick samples from there, I would prefer to put it as a scope limitation in the while forming the opinion. And if possible, I would also like to mention, for example, if it was a commercial data, if it was sales related data, and say the 12 months sale is say 1,000 crore. So how much value of the data is lost? So that materiality also can be gauged by an independent reviewer of the report. So I think that would be good measures for us to give complete picture to anyone reading our report. Amitji.
Absolutely. I think it is absolutely critical to look at from the scope limitation perspective. And the critical part, which is materiality of the missing data.
Yeah, Nandaji.
Only Nandaji.
Apart from the scope limitation, the materiality cannot be determined as of now because the auditor is not clear how much data has missed out. So data analysis, you can do the analysis of the entire period and try to put in something and write a very clear, great disclaimer that these things have been taken. On this basis, once the basis is determined, then the level of assurance can well be gauged by the user of the report.
Correct.
Next is
A
from
very
Mr.
good point.
Virinder Nair. Yes, sir. Very good question. Mr. Virinder Nair from Vadodara, Gujarat has a very typical question. He says, how can one conduct an internal audit for the last quarter in the situation like COVID-19, where there is a total lockdown? We have outlined the process, but what things should be a part of the report, what disclaimers have to be given, what scope limitations have to be given. If you can tell, then it would be better for the normal practitioners.
Amitji, you would like to go first?
Yeah, sure. Let me specify this first. So basically, thing is, you have to, in your audit report, come out with the approach taken, which may be extracting data from relevant management systems or technology systems, looking at what kind of sample sizes have been taken, how audit has been done, which may be either using data analytics or looking at the data or documents maintained in the document management systems or on mails, which have been made available. Second part is, when you are doing audit in a remote working environment, you have to caveat the report saying The data relied upon is the data which has been made available either through IT systems or by the specific process owners on their mailboxes. And physical documents have not been verified. Because even today, the Companies Act and Income Tax Act and the Court of Law rely on physical document and not on the technology thing, unless and until it is maintained as per the IT Act. The other scope limitation which needs to appear is if in case any particular document is not available in electronic form. That specifically needs to come out in so many words in the limitations. Third part is if in case even a video calling based interviews have not been done with the process owners, that also has to come out in the limitation, that people were not available, so on and so forth. Rajiv ji, anything that you would like to add here?
Sure. Thanks, Amitji. So to add to that, see, there are different approaches which we can take as internal auditor. One option is to look at what are the remaining audits which had to be performed in this year. And out of those remaining audits, which of them can be done remotely, which means for which the data is available plus the supportings are available virtually. So those audits can be prioritized. But if no such audit is available and for every remaining audit you have partial data available online, then that is the option you have, which is to specify clearly in the scope that out of say 10 areas which were in your original scope, these are the 5 you are able to cover right now because they are available virtually. Remaining 5 you have to take a call. Either you will put it as scope limitation for this year or you will postpone it for next quarter to happen. Third option, which I feel is also workable, is see what are the audits you had planned or you had thought of performing in next financial year, and any of those significant audit can you pull now. Now, obviously, this is a call which has to be aligned with the chairman of the audit committee, but I think they will like the thought process that how we are trying to focus on the significant risk areas and continue auditing those in the current crisis situation because nobody can go out. If that also doesn't work, you may like to again going back to non-audit support, which is business partnering or doing any advisory or giving your resources on loan. So different ways, different approaches which can be taken in this period. Nandaji.
Thank you. The last question of the day. It is again from Mr. Anand Doshi, Mumbai. He says there is an intermingling of events owing to COVID-19 and normal operations before COVID-19 leading to losses. How to handle this situation?
Sorry, Nandaji, can you repeat the question?
I will repeat, sir. He says there is an intermingling of events owing to COVID-19 and normal operations before COVID-19 leading to losses. So what happened was before COVID-19 and that led to losses. He said how to handle this situation. So in my opinion, it's a normal loss, business loss, which needs to be taken care and how it emerged or what are the consequences or risk perspective we need to highlight. If you have any views, both of us can put it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Amit, you would like to answer that?
So what happens is before COVID-19, the economic situations or different other business scenarios which are existing, those would have any which way been taken into account while framing the audit plan. What really impacts is to data and information due to COVID-19. This is one of the key change which has happened. Now, coupling both parts, the impact is your audit reports has to be relevant to the business. Nandaji, can you please?
Nandaji, please. Yeah. Thank you, Nandaji. Yeah, Amit.
Thank you. So, between these two situations, your audit work has to make sense to the business. And how you do audit becomes more critical. and how you present your findings becomes extremely critical. With regards to the losses being suffered by business, there may be a impact on what audits you are conducting, but not really on what value you bring to table. Rajiv ji, over to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Amit ji. And just to add on to that on the accounting part, see, I don't think there is a need for having any special accounting treatment of losses that would have the company would have incurred in the pre-pandemic phase. It has to be a very standard approach of how we record our revenue and how we record our expenses, whether it is OPEX or CAPEX and all those. So unless I know the specific situation, I think in general the accounting treatment for pre-pandemic expenses would be absolutely the way it used to be earlier. Yeah, Nandaji.
Thank you, sir. So
Nandaji,
in my
you are
opinion,
on
this
mute.
question. No, I'm fine now. I'm
Yeah.
audible.
Yes.
Sir,
Yeah.
in my opinion, this question will not find any place because the basic discussion focuses on impact of COVID-19 on internal processes. So, gentlemen, all good things in life have to come to an end. So, whatever that has to come to an end has to be nice. But here we come to an end with a new beginning. A beginning to perform. A beginning to answer all these questions. Because we have now to come back again on 17th at 5 p.m. And that is very important. And let me tell you that in times of turpitude, in times of trouble, people who stand by us are our true friends. I am remembered of a small couplet which I would like to share with you. The couplet says, आए बहार तो लौट आएंगे पुराने पंछी भी, आई बहार तो लौट आएंगे पुराने पंछी भी, तलाश तो उनकी है जो पतझड़ में भी साथ दे. हम बहारों में और पतझड़ों में ये पूरी काउंसिल आपके साथ है. Whatever issues we have, apart from this, we have a follow-on session. We are committed with all our both of those faculties who have spared so much time and have readily agreed to come back on 17th. Let us come back, answer all the questions, and be a part of the next webinar. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you, Nandaji, for the invitation.
So we sign
Thanks,
out, and I
Amitji.
want to thank the committee, the secretary, Aarti Bansal, Mr. Arun, who was totally involved, including the service provider, because it was a well planned, and by God's grace, there were no technical hitches which could be an impediment in the smooth conduct of this seminar, this webinar. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nanda ji. Thank you, Rajiv ji.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.